Last year, I spent about 100 days camping around Europe, and I shot as much film as I could every single day. Apart from learning how to ask for a beer in about 5 different languages, I also learned some absolute game-changing things about shooting film while you're on the road. These aren't just tips about traveling with film, but they are also really important lessons about getting better photos as well. So rather than wasting any more time, I'm going to drop as much knowledge as possible right about now, and boy oh boy have I got some bangers for you. The first thing I had to think about when I was planning this trip was what kind of gear I was going to take. And obviously if you're taking the trip of a lifetime, you want to make sure that you've got the best of the best. But my advice is keep it simple. For like 90% of my photos from this trip, I pretty much used the 35mm lens the whole time. The rest of the time I used a 50mm lens, and also I had a teleconverter, a 2x teleconverter, which I could put the 50mm lens on and it would create a 100mm lens. All of this was small enough to fit in my sling bag, which just meant that I can pretty much always be having my gear on me. It's not taking up loads of space and it's not causing barriers. If you've got a barrier to shooting, that might be, you've got too much gear on you, you're carrying around loads of stuff, you don't want to take it out with you because it's so expensive and you're worried about it getting lost or stolen. Those are the kinds of things that stop you from taking amazing photos because you don't have your camera on you, or you're worrying about it, or you're thinking about it, or you don't walk very far because you've got so much gear. Of course, everyone's got different styles. You might require certain bits of gear to ensure that you can shoot in that style. You might need a long lens, for instance. But personally, I believe that less is more. The more that you can shoot, the more easily that you can shoot, the more accessible your camera is to you, then the better. And this leads me on to film itself. I basically bought a whole load of film before I went traveling. And I didn't realize that in a lot of places, your film is a hell of a lot cheaper than it is in the UK. In San Francisco, it was a lot cheaper. In Spain, it was a lot cheaper. And I could have saved a ton of money. I mean, seriously, in Valencia, I think a roll of Portra 400 was the equivalent of like £13, whereas in the UK, it's like £20 to £22 a roll. So I could have saved a lot of money. You could save a lot of money. If you're going on a trip, then maybe just see if there's any stores that sell film in that location. See what the prices are if you can find out, because you could be saving, I don't know, if you bought 10 rolls, you could save like 50 quid. It's a lot of money. And something else that's super important when you're traveling and shooting film is whether you fly or not. This wasn't something that I had to deal with because although I did fly to America, I actually bought my film in America and then sent my film to be developed in America as well. But if you're flying, your film goes through scanners that can damage your film. Especially as scanners have improved over time, they've become more powerful, and that means they can damage your film. So some places it might be fine, some places it might not be fine. Something to be aware of: when we went to Europe, we went on the ferry, so it doesn't scan your film. You just drive your car onto the ferry, everything's fine. But when you're in a plane, you will get your film scanned. You might have to ask for it to be hand inspected, but they might tell you that it's fine if it's below like 3200 ISO. And they're probably right. It might damage your film a tiny bit. It just, the scans might not look perfect. It's just something to be aware of. And just while I'm still talking about film, there's something pretty unique which I had to deal with, which is that basically film hates to be very hot. If you have it being very hot for long periods of time, it can damage it and deteriorate it more quickly than if it was stored in a cool place or in a cold place. So obviously driving around and staying in tents all the time, it meant that the car gets really hot and the tent gets really hot in the middle of the day. So I was really, really careful with my film. I would try and store it in the cool bag that we had, or at least the insulated bag, because then it would hopefully not get too hot. Even though my film did get quite hot over that time, it didn't seem to do it any harm, But I think if you allowed it to get too hot for too long, then it could potentially do some damage to it. So just be aware of that. And next up, I'm going to talk about some lessons that totally changed the way I was shooting while I was away. But first, if you're new to film photography and you're trying to find your way in this crazy world, then I've got the perfect thing for you. Just a month or so ago, I put together the course that I wish I had when I first started shooting film. This course should take you from a complete beginner to confidently taking banging shots on the regular. And if you use the code MY50 within the first 7 days of this video being released, then you'll get 50% off at checkout. So go take a look. It'll be really, really helpful. I just hope it helps people out because it's a cool thing. But anyways, here are some game-changing lessons that I learned along the way. And this lesson was kind of a hard one to learn. But I feel like when you first get to a new place, a new town, wherever you are, you're full of sangria and excitement, and you might go out on the town, take a look around, and because it's totally new to you, all of it seems really exciting. Next thing you know, you're taking photos of things that you never would if you were at home, old buildings and all that touristy shit. It kind of took me a while to come to terms with the fact that just because something's new to me, just because it's in a different country, doesn't mean it's a good photo. And hey, I'm not trying to diss you. If you like taking pictures of touristy things, then that's fine. Just enjoy yourself. That's great. But generally, they're the kind of least interesting, most surface level photos you can take. And I realized that you've kind of got to remind yourself of what you want to shoot and the way you want to shoot when you get to somewhere. So what I do is I kind of keep a sort of photography mantra on me and a kind of mood board, I suppose. So sometimes I literally just write, movement, feeling, things like that are based around how I actually shoot. So that when I turn up and get to a new location, I'm not just getting all excited and, oh, there's a building. I've never seen that kind of building before. But, it's still not necessarily an interesting photo. So if you do that, then you'll probably keep yourself from taking boring holiday snaps, basically. And this leads me on to something really important. And for some reason, people treat this like it's really hard work. But you've got to explore and get off the beaten track. Even if you've only got a few days, even if you've just got 3 days somewhere, at least try and spend one of them or one really early morning doing this. As I said before, it's so easy to sort of ball into this, like, I'm just gonna take pictures of the touristy things, only see somewhere on a surface level. And if you literally just go a few blocks over, you could be getting a way more authentic feel of a place. Or sometimes another thing that I love doing is just going on something like All Trails and just seeing what trails are around the place where I am, even if it's not like a proper path or a proper walking route, as long as it's a legitimate path that's on the trail map, then I might just be like, oh, let's just explore around here. And you could have a completely different experience to like 98% of the people that visit that location just because you decided to do something slightly different. And doing things slightly differently leads to really different photos. And I think that's way more interesting than the same picture of the same place. Oh yeah, cool. It's not that exciting. And this leads me on to my last big lesson from all this time spent shooting. And it's one of these weird lessons that I think you don't really notice as easily if you're not shooting as often. But like, do you ever feel like you're just in a rut with photography? I do all the time, like, especially when the sky is gray all the time. Jesus Christ, like, it saps your motivation. But, sometimes you just feel like that. You feel like you're not that good, or maybe you're on a downward trajectory and all this shit. The truth is, in everyday life, you probably maybe get 2 days a week to shoot, or maybe 1 day a week to shoot. So if 2 out of those 4 days a month end up being bad, then you can end up on a real downer. But because I was shooting every single day, I wasn't necessarily shooting a lot every single day. Some days I might take 5 pictures. Days I might take 2 rolls. But because I was shooting every single day, if I had a bad day, which I had quite a few bad days, it was fine because the next day or the next few days were really good. It's a simple numbers game. You can't have a good day of shooting without some bad days of shooting at some point. You're going to have bad days. Never get yourself down if you have a bad day. It's all part of the process. All photographers have them. Most photographers will go out, let's say you go out every day for a month. Out of that month, you might get 10 really nice photos. They might not even be top, but they'll be up there. It's just a numbers game. Even the bad days make you a better photographer. And to be honest, sometimes I think the worst days I've had have given me the biggest lessons. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this one. If you've got a big trip ahead of you, then I'm insanely jealous of you because now I'm just some dude in Manchester. The sky's mainly grey and it's often raining. And of course, subscribe, like this video, leave a comment about the last film that you watched or the best film that you watched recently. I don't know. Either way, have an amazing week and I hope you're great. I hope you're doing well. Take care.